Next guest this morning is Mr. Tim Bale, a professor of politics at Queen Mary University of London. Sir, pleasure to see you. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. All right, well, we're talking about all of this espionage that's coming to light, that's perpetrated by Russia and possibly also by China, because in the case, this most recent case of hacking in the UK, the blame is being put on China. Tell us a little bit more about this hacking. 270,000 UK forces records exposed.
Well, the important thing, and in some senses the reassuring thing to say about the situation, is that it was not a hack of the Ministry of Defence's computer system. It was a hack of a provider of human resources and payroll services to the Ministry of Defence. So there is no direct security threat. Having said that, it's obviously embarrassing for the government and for the Ministry of Defence to have this happen. The government revealed the leak yesterday, but it did not blame any particular aggressor, although it's fairly clear that some Conservative MPs, some government MPs anyway, are pointing the finger at China in particular. China, however, have denied any involvement, as is normally the case.
And now, curiously enough, because usually when we are talking about now, I believe, cyber warfare, we usually think about Russia. What do you think, what interest China might have had in attacking the UK, of course, allegedly?
Well, I mean, it's always possible if it is China or, if it is some more aggressive state, that this is just a kind of probing attack. It may be, of course, potentially a way of gaining leverage over some of the people involved. If you have people's financial records, for example, sometimes that can be the case. It could just be a test of whatever aggressive power did this, just to see how easy it is to do and how they might do this again. It's also sometimes just a way of communicating to the British government and indeed governments all around the world that it is possible for aggressive states to do this.
Okay. Yeah, because the data itself, is there any possible way to use this against the British state? Not really.
Not really. I mean, only in the sense that, of course, once you have people's personal details, the threat of revealing those personal details or just making actually life very difficult for people by releasing, financial details onto the dark web, for example, to allow scammers to use them, is quite disruptive. But as I say, it's not a hack of the Ministry of Defence's computer system, so there is no direct security threat. It's more, if you like, a cause of anxiety and concern for the staff involved rather than necessarily for the government and its security.
I mean, we do also see that there is a very much heightened security threat. That, for instance, now recently Poland has stopped two spies. So this espionage, both in cyberspace and not, is becoming an issue, an alarming issue. And now international intelligence agencies are alarming now the rest of the world that it is happening. So having that in mind, how do you think can the UK government collaborate with international partners to track down the perpetrators of this particular cyber attack, but also prevent future incidents?
Well, I mean, some would say, obviously, particularly if they're opponents of Brexit, that cooperation is made less easy, perhaps, between Britain and European governments. Having said that, there is a general effort on the part of the UK and other countries not to allow Brexit to affect that particular relationship. We've seen recently arrests made in this country and, of course, in Germany as well, and other countries in Europe, of people accused, at least, of spying for China. And, of course, there will be some who spy for Russia as well. I think there is a general perception of a threat and a desire, if possible, to try and work together to, if not eliminate it, then at least to mitigate it. But let's be honest, I think in the 21st century, this is just going to be a feature of international relations and to some extent, where things get very bad, and we've seen this obviously between Russia and Ukraine, actual cyber warfare.
All right. And just a final question, just details here. I mean, in the documents that were leaked from the Ministry of Defense in the UK, I mean, one could, if one were a spy, one could sort of see what the organizational chart looks like, and then be able to also target certain people by agents. That's something that they certainly could get out of that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, we don't know the absolutely full extent of the details are released. Most of it seems to be people's banking information, which of course is quite sensitive to the particular individual. There were some addresses leaked as well. So I guess if people working in particular sensitive jobs, then there's a possibility of a foreign state gaining leverage over them by threatening to, reveal their details in some way. But as I say, I mean, I think although this is serious and the government clearly is taking it seriously, and it is embarrassing for the government and indeed for the firm involved, I think it's in some ways a wake-up call for governments who outsource quite a lot of this kind of payroll and HR function, that actually they have to be very, very careful about who they pick to do that. And in some ways, the security that those private firms has to be every bit as good as the government security when it comes to cyber attacks.
Definitely so. Definitely so. All right, sir. Pleasure speaking with you. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.